All right, welcome. And as we go through the 10 stages, right, in mindfulness, you look at the end and you go, wow, that might be kind of neat. My mind doesn't have complete control over me, and I freak out at every moment that is present in front of me. Right? And you know that the stages, just like a child being developed in the womb, or a child learning how to walk, or run, or play a sport, or write the alphabet, or count the numbers, takes time. Like the practicing to write, my 3-year-old, I don't expect her to know the alphabet. Mhm. How would I? How much patience do I have with her? So we have patience with our own selves, if we can. Many of us don't, but we have patience with our own selves, saying, "I'm not even ready." Mm. You have the phases of change. Right? Even this, even asking somebody to do a mindfulness practice. Are you ready to do the practice? No, I'm not. Then there's no question, right? You don't even have to suffer the resistance of saying, just accept that I'm not ready to do a formal practice. I'll do an informal practice. I'll show up for these classes, which is fantastic, and you give yourself a pat on the back for all that and everything that you're integrating into your daily life. But I'm showing up, and that's enough. So whatever we're doing that we feel comfortable doing is enough. Or we don't put ourselves down, right? But do you know how many people try to get here and never get here? And we don't even see them, right? And wherever they're at, that's enough. All right. So let's go back to the 10 stages. Stage one, establishing a practice. Stage two, interrupted attention and overcoming mind wandering. Stage three, extended attention and overcoming forgetting. That forgetting is important. Again, he says, this is easier said than done. You will discover that attention is easily captured by distraction. We have that experience, making you forget that you're supposed to be paying attention to your breath or whatever anchor you're supposed to be paying attention to, right? So that's the point of that practice of saying, look, I'm going to establish a practice. Good, right? Consistent, diligent. What is coming up? Resistance, procrastination, fatigue, impatience, boredom, lack of motivation. We heard some examples, right? Very resistant. Don't tell me what to do. Okay, maybe it's not Dr. Z telling me what to do. Maybe it's the universe. Maybe it's my own internal wisdom. That you will forget that soon as you start paying attention to something that you choose. So that's the first clincher, right? Is you're choosing what to pay attention to. That's your choice. That's your choice. Right? The more we practice that, I'm choosing what to pay attention to. 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 Right? That's that sustained attention now. That's that sustained concentration. Right? Yes, mind wandering occurs. Forgetfulness comes in. Right? Distraction. Okay. Oh my goodness, my health or my screening test that needs to be done. Okay. Yes. Okay. That's just a distraction for this moment, right? Because if you're in front of somebody and they're making an appointment for you, well, then that's what you need to pay attention to in that moment. Right? Making an appointment for your screening test. Right? But in the moment that you choose to do your formal practice, right, what are you choosing to pay attention to? You're not making an appointment. Yes, you might have to in the future make an appointment, and that's coming up as a reminder for yourself, right? And oftentimes when that does, maybe having a little piece of paper on the side and jotting it down so your brain, you can allow your brain to rest from having to remember it. Okay, sometimes what we do is we trick ourselves. Okay, we say, okay, look, I'm going to focus on the breath, and then something comes in. Oh, I have to pick up my son at 2 o'clock. Oh, yeah, that's right. Don't forget about that. Okay, it's a weird day today. I have to pick up my son at 2 o'clock. Okay, oh, yeah, sorry. Come back to my breath, right? Okay, I'm going to pay attention to my breath. Don't forget picking up your son. He's going to take a little pencil, have a little piece of paper on the side, jot it down. Son, 2 o'clock, pick up. And now you're done. You're done with that reminder. And you can, because you did that little action, it takes 10 seconds. You did that little action, you put it aside. When it comes up, you can say, there doesn't need to be so much energy anymore around remembering it because I'm going to take a look at my little pad afterwards. All right, so distraction will come in, right, making you forget where you're supposed to be paying attention to. You're going to forget. Perfectly normal, right? That's going to lead to mind wandering after a few seconds, minutes, or, I love that, the entire meditation session. That's my favorite. The gong goes off. What the heck did I do for those 10 minutes? The entire 9 minutes and 59 seconds was spent in forgetting. Okay? And you go, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Right? And then that might lead to more resistance, more procrastination, more impatient, more judgment of the self. I suck at this. Right? 9 minutes and 59 seconds of my 10-minute meditation was spent in forgetting. Okay. But we can't, we shouldn't lie to ourselves, right? Hey, I tried it. Gong went off. 9 minutes, 59 seconds. That's why he puts it in here. Forgetting quickly leads to mind wandering, which can last a few seconds, several minutes, or the entire meditation session. Like, oh, I'm not that bad of a person as I thought I was. Wow, I don't suck as badly as I thought. Right? It's written here. This happens to other people. I'm not the only one. No, you're not the only one. Why? Because distraction is so powerful. Right? It grabs our attention. It holds on to it, and that's why we're in the practice. The sequence is so important, it's worth committing to memory. The untrained mind produces distractions that lead to forgetting, which result in mind wandering. Okay. So when you notice your mind has wandered, right, that's where when you notice the mind has wandered, that's that aha moment. What do you, as soon as you notice the mind wandering, aha, right? The beautiful moment of mindfulness, coming back, bringing yourself back to what you're chosen to pay attention to. That then goes into, as we get better at that, as you actually are improving with that, what you notice is that, one, your sustained attention will start to grow. What you are choosing to pay attention to, the length of time will start to grow. Right? It's the practice of counting your breaths. At first, you might do 1 or 2. Next thing you know, 3 months down the line, you're easily getting to 10. That's the sustained attention. The frequencies and lengths, the frequencies of forgetting are getting less. And the length of time of mind wandering is shortening. Okay. So we're practicing that sustained attention. This is what I'm going to focus on. This is my anchor. This is my resource. There are going to be moments where I forget. There are going to be moments where distraction comes in, pulls me away. I'm forgetting to pay attention to my breath. I recognize I have forgotten. I come back. As soon as I recognize I've forgotten, come back. Stage 3 then is that extended attention. Okay. Use the technique of following the breath and connecting to extend the periods of uninterrupted attention and become familiar with how forgetting happens. Cultivate introspective awareness through the practices of labeling and checking in. These techniques allow you to catch distractions before they lead to forgetting. Right? We're checking in, labeling, thought, thinking. Come back to the breath. Sensation. Come back to the breath. Checking in. Right? Even just asking yourself, what am I paying attention to? My breath. What am I paying attention to? My breath. Right? That sustained attention. Introspective awareness, even the sensation of the breath. Right? Choosing that introspective, when we choose something internally, right, it helps keep that focus and attention, especially with a sensation. That's why I like the sensation of the breath and not only counting, because it really helps keep us in the present moment. Okay, so that's milestone number 1, stage 1 through 3, continuous attention to the meditation object. All right, stage 4 through 6. Stage 4, continuous attention and overcoming gross distraction and strong dullness. You can stay focused. At this stage, you can stay focused on the breath more or less continuously, but attention still shifts rapidly back and forth between the breath and various distractions. All right, so you're feeling as if now you're at the point where the majority of your space and time is actually on the breath, but it's kind of jumping. Right? It's sort of like jumping back. Oh, breath. Oh, breath. Right? Jump. Oh, breath. Right? That space, the time of the mind wandering is getting less. Whenever a distraction becomes the primary focus of your attention, it pushes the meditation object into the background. This is called a gross distraction. We've talked about foreground and background. A lot of times if we're in pain, it's in the foreground, and if we're paying attention to something really intently, the pain becomes the background. Even when you're sitting here, something is in the foreground of your attention, and then you have a lot of stuff in the background of your attention. As you shift, and this might even have to do with that thalamic modulation, as you shift the filter, as you shift that relay center in the middle of your brain of what you're actually paying attention to, you're shifting the filtering that's coming in. Like somebody might be intently listening to me, but they're not hearing the cars that are passing by, even though the cars are passing by outside their home. Right? If they paid attention, if they shifted their attention to the cars passing by, now that becomes the forefront of their attention, and then my voice becomes the background, and so you'll notice this. There'll be sort of like a foreground and a background, like a foreground and a background, a foreground and a background. Where is our attention going to? That's the foreground. Everything else can be like in the background. Right? A good way of kind of just looking at this is if anybody's into photography, right, is the pinpoint photography where you can get a lot of the scenery that's in focus. So the way that the aperture is a pinpoint, I think they call them like needlepoint cameras or something like that. Ansel Adams, I think, actually was famous for this in some of his paintings or pictures, in terms of using a needlepoint, literally having a sheet and just one needlepoint. And through that needlepoint, the focus is so much better. In fact, if you ever have trouble seeing something, you can actually make a needle point with your own hands and fingers, and you kind of make a needle point with your own hand and finger, and just by closing the aperture of what light comes through, you can see things in better focus. It's called needle point aperture. If you open up the aperture wide, then the way that the light is coming in, and you're getting less of a focus. Okay, so it's sort of like with that pinpoint, okay, when you're focusing, it's like you got that much, you're focusing on one specific object, and then everything else is sort of in the background. All right. So the gross distraction, right? What they call a gross distraction is that when we talk about gross anatomy or subtle anatomy, right? It's not gross as in disgusting. It's gross as in macro level, like big, like gross anatomy. When we talk about gross anatomy, we're talking about the big structures that are easily visible to the eyes. Okay, like we say, oh, in the gross sensations, for instance, those are the major senses as opposed to the more subtle senses. All right, same thing here. When we're talking about the gross distractions, it's not the disgusting distractions. It's the big distractions. It's the ones that are very noticeable. Okay, you're paying attention to something. All of a sudden, you're thinking about lunch. That would be a gross distraction. Your attention goes towards lunch. That's a gross distraction. Okay, or more a large distraction. Okay, so when they say whenever a distraction becomes the primary focus of your attention, right? When a distraction comes in, becomes the primary focus of your attention, what do? You then pay attention to that. The object of your meditation goes to the background, or it might not even be present. Okay, that's what he calls a gross distraction. But when the mind grows calm, right? When the mind grows calm, there tends to be another problem called strong dullness. Strong dullness. Right? You might be aware of this. Strong dullness. When it appears, when the mind starts to grow calm, there might be this like it's dull. Right? The present moment seems to be dull. Okay. To deal with both of these challenges, you develop continuous introspective awareness to alert you to their presence. Okay. What are distractions, pain and discomfort, intellectual insights, emotionally charged visions and memories. Okay, developing continuous introspective awareness allows you to make corrections before subtle distractions become gross distractions and before subtle dullness becomes strong dullness. Learning to work with pain. That's why I got into this work. Purifying the mind of past trauma and unwholesome conditioning. The mastery of this level is when gross distractions, so those big distractions, no longer push the breath into the background, and breath sensations don't fade or become distorted due to strong dullness. Stage 5. I'm going to go into stage 5 and stage 6 because they're all related. Okay. You can overcome gross distractions and strong dullness, but there is a tendency to slip into stable, subtle dullness. This makes the breath sensations less vivid and cause peripheral awareness to fade. Unrecognized subtle dullness can lead you to overestimate your abilities and move on to the next stage prematurely, which leads to concentration with dullness. You will experience only a shallow facsimile of the later stages, and your practice will come to a dead end. To overcome subtle dullness, you must sharpen your faculties of attention and awareness. This is why we pay so much attention. This is why we pay so much attention to attention. Okay, because in order to overcome this subtle dullness, we actually use attention. Okay, how? Skills, cultivating even stronger and more continuous introspective awareness to detect and correct subtle dullness, such as learning a new body scanning technique to help you increase the power of your mindfulness. I have tricked you, in all of you, in this practice that we've done multiple times, right? When what? When I ask you, and when we've done the practices, to be hyper aware of the micro sensations in a body part that we are paying attention to. Right? Like if you're paying attention to the sensation of your feet on the ground, the paying attention so intently that you are noticing everything. Right? We even did an exercise with the proprioception of our finger or hand. I don't know if you remember that, where we moved it, right? Where we tried to move it as slowly as possible, where we couldn't tell if we were moving it or not, if somebody was looking at it, but we could feel ourselves moving. Right? Where if somebody actually looked at my hand, they're like, "You're not moving your finger," but I'm like, "I'm moving my finger, dude." I can feel that sensation is so vivid. Okay. So in terms of then overcoming this subtle dullness, right, is actually almost like accelerating the attention that we're placing if we're choosing the breath, right? It's like we're paying even greater attention with finer detail. It's like if we could take out every single magnifying glass and microscope and telescope and put it on every sensation that we felt of the breath, that's what we would be doing. Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your nostrils? Do you feel it coming over your upper lip? How does it feel when it's passing through your nostrils in your nasal cavity? Where do you feel it that it ends? Can you feel it going up all the way to your brain? Right? How do you feel it expanding your trachea in the back? Do you feel it in the back of your oropharynx, in the back of your nose as you're breathing and it's actually coming through your mouth, right? Because I can breathe through my nose. That means it's got to be going to the back of my oropharynx. Can I feel that sensation? How do I notice it going down in my trachea? When do I notice that my body is expanding or contracting? All right. And then stage 6, and I'm just going to finish this before we go into our practice. Okay. Attention is fairly stable, but still alternates between the meditation object and subtle distractions in the background. You're now ready to bring your faculty of attention to the whole new level where subtle distractions fall away completely. You will achieve exclusive attention on the meditation object, also called single-pointed attention. Single-pointed attention. Skills. Defining your scope of attention more precisely than before, right? Before you're just saying, oh, I'm going to pay attention to the breath. Now you're going to say, I'm going to pay attention to every single sensation of the breath as it's coming and going, in the most excruciating, minute detail that I could possibly do so. You are the best detective at the sensation of the breath, and that is your ultimate focus, because there is nothing else that is more interesting for that period of time than what you are choosing to pay attention to. Okay. So you're defining your scope of attention more precisely. There's that single pointed, right? It's sort of like I'm going to look so carefully that this is just going to amplify. This little thing is just going to amplify 10,000 fold. And that's exciting. Okay. Developing a much more refined and selective awareness of the mind itself, called metacognitive introspective awareness. You will also use a method called experiencing the whole body with the breath. Subtle distractions have almost entirely disappeared, and you have unwavering, exclusive attention together with vivid mindfulness. Milestone 2. With mastery of stages 4 through 6, your attention no longer alternates back and forth from the breath to distractions in the background. You can focus on the meditative object to the exclusion of everything else, and your scope of attention is also stable. Dullness has completely disappeared, and mindfulness takes the form of a powerful, metacognitive introspective awareness. This is, you're now aware of your state of mind in every moment, even as you focus on the breath. You have accomplished the two major objectives of meditative training: stable attention and powerful mindfulness. All right. So that'll be we'll work that in our practice today. Bada boom, bada bang. All right. And what we're looking at is we're looking at the capacity of our attention to be fully sustained on an object that we are choosing. For this practice. Because you'll see then where the ultimate goal goes. Okay, so let's find a comfortable posture. A posture you feel relaxed yet alert. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable closing your eyes. If not, having a soft downward gaze as you're gazing off on the horizon. Watching a sunset over the ocean. Allowing yourself to be fully supported by whatever object you're on. Taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. And with each exhale, really allowing yourself to be here now. Releasing any tension you may be holding, even if it's just the intention of releasing the tension. And then breathing regularly. And for this practice, bringing your full attention to your breath, the sensation of the breath as it enters your body, and as you breathe it out. That your attention is going fully 100% to just noticing what you feel in the body when you breathe. Single pointed attention. If at any time there's a fleeting distraction, catch it, notice it, come back. Your sole journey and goal is to pay attention to the sensation you feel in your body of yourself breathing. Wherever you notice the sensation with each inhale or exhale, that's where you focus your attention. Sustaining this capacity. Your attention may seem awake, alive, vibrant, focused. If you notice your mind quieting, see if you can differentiate the dullness of boredom or resistance versus an inner calm or peace. As your attention is vibrant, on your object of meditation, the breath, the sensation of the breath. Noticing, perceiving. Each moment, each microsecond, sustaining our single-pointed attention on the sensation of the breath in the body, without distraction. sustained attention for this practice. Really cultivating that interoceptive awareness. Becoming very curious about the sensation, as if we could take a magnifying glass and study it and notice it from every angle. And just recognizing where our attention is now. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. Allowing our attention to rest. Almost as if the laser focus could turn off for a little bit. Opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Reorienting yourself to your room and surroundings. Stretching or moving if you need to stretch. And just taking a moment to reflect on your practice.